Good evening. Now then, let us be plain at the outset. Give me 12 minutes and we will find out whether the voice running your life is fear or presence, not by arguing and not by a new theory, and certainly not by my authority or yours, by silence, that is all. 12 minutes without opinion, without complaint, without that inner editorial that has been barking orders at you since breakfast. You can grant that, can't you? 12 minutes to discover whether fear has any law behind it, or whether it is only noise hunting for a listener. I've been watching this for 27 years, and I can tell you, fear is a very busy talker, but it is a poor governor. It thrives on the clatter of your mind, on the moving pictures that memory and imagination project on the wall, on the headlines, on the inner debate about bills and bodies and careers and reputation. Who decreed that fear must govern you? Who wrote that statute and had it entered in the book of life? Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. That is a human ordinance, a mob rule of suggestion, and it collapses the moment you leave its jurisdiction. The law came by Moses, grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Under the law, you react. Under grace, you are governed. Under the law, you are an effect of circumstances. Under grace, you are a witness of presence. Do you see that? Two different states of consciousness, and they do not mix any more than oil and water. Now then, if you are living under the law, you are under the rule of noise, of cause and effect, time and pressure. Who said what? What will happen if I don't? What will they think if I do? What if the body does not obey? What if the money does not show? That is the jurisdiction of human decree, and the best you can do there is manage and brace up and try to keep the plates spinning. It is exhausting and it is noisy, and it demands sacrifice that never ends. That's pitiful. Now then, grace is not like that. Grace is the quiet government of I am. Grace does not argue with fear because grace does not recognize fear as a law. Grace outranks it. Be still and know that I am God. That is the charter, and when you come under it, you find there is a silence that does not shrink from threats, a stillness that does not negotiate with warnings. It simply abides, and in that abiding something is revealed that you do not produce, and you cannot improve, and you do not have to defend. So here is the experiment. We are not going to fight fear. We are not going to analyze fear. We are not going to try to improve fear's tone or soften its edges. We are going to be still and watch what remains. If fear is a law, it will remain. If it is only a voice, it will go hunting for a listener, and finding none, it will fade. Do you doubt this? Never doubt this. Fear survives by your attention and your agreement. Withdraw the agreement, withdraw the attention, and what is left is presence. Without words, without bargains, without performance. Now you may say, but I've tried to be quiet. The noise only got louder. Who decreed that the noise getting louder is power? That man who taught you that the loudest voice in the room is the authority. In spiritual life, it is the opposite. The still small voice is the government, and all the shouting in the marketplace cannot overrule it. And so, in a few moments, I will ask you to enter 12 minutes of quiet. Not techniques, not breath counting, not concentration, for we are not here to practice law with another set of rules. We are here to pass over into grace. Your part is consent. Your part is non-cooperation with fear. When a thought comes parading its credentials, medical statistics, economic forecasts, family histories, old shames, you are not to cower and you are not to wrestle. You are to let it pass without a seat at your table. Why? Because you are not under the law. You are under grace. Install that as your inner refrain now, so when the time comes, you are not rummaging for language. I am not under the law. I am under grace. Say it within yourself, not as a magic phrase, but as a sober statement of jurisdiction. I am not under the rule of noise, decline, scarcity, or reputation management. I am under the government of I am. If there is any truth in me at all, it is not mine, it is His. If there is any supply, any health, any direction, it comes by grace, and grace is shy of noise. Therefore, today we experiment in silence, and we are going to be honest about it. No deals. If I am quiet, will you fix this? That is law bargaining. We are not going to carry our anxieties into the silence like bribes in our pockets. We are coming empty because grace meets emptiness, not negotiation. Well, you say, what if nothing happens? Who decreed that something must happen to prove God? That man. Presence is not an event. Presence is government. You will not measure the success of the 12 minutes by fireworks or tingles. You will measure it by what refuses to be moved when the old noise knocks at the door. And I can tell you, if you give me those minutes honestly, you will discover that fear is a beggar, not a magistrate. It can demand, it can rattle its cup, it can sing the same song in 100 keys, but it cannot compel, it never could. Under grace, it is made to stand outside. So, prepare within yourself. Settle your feet on the floor of your being. Dismiss for now whether you are getting anywhere. Be willing to stop. When I say, let us be still, you will take those minutes and let the room inside you clear. Let fear talk if it must, but do not answer. Let memory strut if it must, but do not bow. Keep only this witness alive. I am not under the law, I am under grace. And then we will see who is truly talking in you and who, at last, is governing. Now then, before we take those minutes, let us pull the mask off this voice that has been issuing orders in your name. Fear comes to you with badges pinned to its chest. This can happen to you. You will lose. You will be sick. You will fail. They will reject you. Time will run out. The bill will not be paid. The body will not hold. The world will not love you. It reads these lines like statutes from some high court and expects you to stand at attention. Who made those laws? Who signed them? Who decreed that you, ordained of God, must tremble before a forecast? That man, not God. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law in God. I have been watching this for many years, and I can tell you how it works. The human mind manufactures a code. Contagion is king, lack is inevitable, aging is a straight-line descent, reputation is oxygen, love is scarce, and the calendar is a tyrant, and then, pitiably, it bows before the code it wrote. It prints its own currency, and then becomes afraid it can't pay the bills. It builds its own prison, and then hires a guard to rattle the keys at night. That's pitiful. Now then, do not mistake noise for a decree. Do not confuse a prediction with a presence. Do not elevate a report to a law of life. Fear is a report, often a crude one, sometimes dressed in respectable statistics, but always without divine authority. It is not the voice of I am. It is not the government of grace. The law came by Moses. Grace and truth came by Christ Jesus. Never doubt this. There are two levels running in this very room. Under the law, you live by cause and effect, by what eyes report and ears repeat. So many cases of this disease, so many layoffs this quarter, so many birthdays spent means you must steadily go down. Who decreed that decline is a sacrament? That man. Under grace, truth is not manufactured out of appearances. Truth is revealed out of presence. And where grace is, the law of fear cannot operate. It can chatter. Yes, it can chatter. It can draw charts and point to family histories and take the names of your loved ones into its mouth like a gossip in the square. But it has no jurisdiction where grace is acknowledged. Have you noticed how fear loves the clock? It says, by Friday at 5 o'clock, you will see I was right. By next winter you will deteriorate. In 3 conversations, they will undo your reputation. At your age, this is how the body behaves. Who said so? Who made a rule that age is a sentence? That man. And what a curious thing that the same mind that trembles at the thought of aging will envy those older who are at peace and able and generous and free. Evidently, the law is not a law. It is a habit of believing. Break the habit and the law dissolves. Oh, fear uses holy words too. It says, be responsible, take precautions, manage every variable, do not be surprised when the worst occurs. And I am not against prudence. I am against bowing to a rumor as if it were the will of God. If you live under the law of mind-made decrees, you will have to obey every rumor. If someone coughs, you must plan your funeral. If a market dips, you must rehearse poverty. If a friend glances away, you must prepare for abandonment. And then, when nothing of the sort occurs, fear will say, you were spared this time because you obeyed me. That is how a bully talks. That is not government, that is extortion. Now then, I want you to hear this in your innermost being. The only law operative in God is love. Perfect love casteth out fear. Not debates with fear, not bargaining, not managing its temper, but casting it out by outranking it. When you stand in the awareness of I am, not noisy, not performative, not making a deal, you are under grace, and grace has its own economy. There is a spiritual law of multiplication, a spiritual law of life, a spiritual law of guidance, and these are not added to you because you trembled correctly. They flow because you are at one with the source out of which they forever move. Well, someone says, but look at contagion. Look at entire cities affected. Look at charts and curves. I have looked at them. I have sympathized with suffering, and still I ask, who drafted the statute that says, you must take into yourself every suggestion the air carries? Who decreed you are an unguarded doorway and not a temple whose government is within? Under law, yes, you are an effect of every breeze of rumor and every headline's mood. Under grace, you are witness, not victim, and from that, witnessing a different conduct flows. Calm, kind, clean, wise, but not terrorized. Do you see the difference? One is obedience to fear's ordinance. The other is agreement with grace's government. Now, let me be practical. Every day fear files papers in the court of your mind. It stamps them, urgent. It says, sign here, acknowledge receipt, comply. You have been signing without reading, and you have mistaken the rubber stamp for a royal seal. Stop. Read the line that says, this is inevitable. Ask yourself, who authorized that inevitability? God or popular consent? If it is popular consent, do not hate it. Simply step out of its jurisdiction. How? Be still. Not as a technique to get relief, a little pill to numb the edge, but as a relocation of government. In stillness, you are not practicing how to breathe better under the law. You are declining the case entirely and appearing before a different court. The truth is, fear is sustained by motion. Like a street vendor who needs the crowd to keep buying, it shouts as long as you keep circling the block of your own thoughts. The instant you sit down inwardly, sit down, not slump. Sit down as one who has an authority. The vendor looks around for another passerby. If none appears, it folds its table. In other words, stillness is not a method. It is a shift of jurisdiction. It is crossing a border without leaving your chair. And over that border, the language is different. The currency is different. The officials are different. There you will not find, you will be sick. You will find, I am life. There you will not find, you will fail. You will find, I am the way. There you will not find, you will be alone. You will find, I am with you always. Never doubt this. If fear were a law of God, silence would strengthen it. If fear were a divine ordinance, prayer would harden it. But the moment you stop bargaining and stop rehearsing and stop running and instead consent to presence, fear begins to do what all pretenders do when the king enters. They bow and back away. And so, in a moment, when we enter those minutes, we are not proving a theory, we are leaving a jurisdiction. We are ceasing to be citizens of noise and are taking our place under the charter of grace. And there, the only voice with authority is the one that was before all predictions and will be after all reports have burned out. I am. Now then, let us make this very plain. There are not 10 of you in there, there are 2. There is the one who fears, and there is the one who witnesses. Under the law, the one who fears reacts and calculates and defends and rehearses and talks to itself about what might happen next, and it watches the door and the clock and the faces and the headlines. Under grace, the one who witnesses abides and beholds and refuses to be drafted by rumor, and it does not argue with appearances, and it does not brace against them. It simply stands in I am and lets grace be the government. Do you see that? 2 states of consciousness, and your life swings with the one you enthrone. The human self under the law is busy, always busy, running the numbers, cataloging symptoms, scanning for danger, predicting what the market or the body or the neighbor will do, and then taking its own predictions as authority. Who decreed that your predictions are prophecy? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. I have been watching it for years, and I can tell you, what you are calling my fear is, 9 times out of 10, only a broadcast that you have tuned to and turned up. Turn the dial, and the announcer has no audience. Now then, the spiritual self under grace is not indifferent, and it is not weak. It is not a stiff upper lip. It is witness. It looks out from I am. It does not take its life from effects. It bears witness to cause. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and fix it. Not be still and bargain. Not be still and monitor the outcome minute by minute. Be still and know. The knowing is the witness. The witness does not need a method because it is not trying to get something to happen. It is standing in what is already true in God, here and now. And so you ask, how does this become evident? By silence? Yes, but hear me. Silence is not merely the absence of noise. Silence is the doorway in consciousness, where the witness takes the seat and the reactor loses the microphone. Have you noticed that fear cannot speak without your consent? Without attention? Without rehearsal? Have you noticed that as long as you echo it and narrate it and outfit it with images and feelings and what-ifs, it seems enormous, and that the moment you cease to repeat it and let it be an appearance passing, neither embraced nor fought, it diminishes like a cloud without water? Never doubt this. Fear borrows your voice to sound like your identity. Withdraw the loan, and you will find it never had a voice of its own. Let me give you a small practice before our 12 minutes just here while we are talking. Quiet yourself a bit and make these 2 statements within. First, I am afraid. Feel what happens in you. Notice how the chest tightens, how the attention collapses around a point, how the words glue you to a role. Now then, make this statement. Fear is appearing. Feel the difference? One is identity, the other is observation. One puts the costume on you, the other keeps you in your own garment of light and lets the costume blow by on a hanger. In the first, you are under the law, effect of. In the second, you are under grace, witness of. Do you see how simple and how profound this is? You have not denied that a sensation or a thought has come. You have denied it the right to name you. That is the beginning of dominion. I say to you, train this in little things, and you will find it meets you in the larger. When a bill arrives and the old habit rises, I am overwhelmed. Turn on it and say, overwhelm is appearing. I witness, I am supply. When a twinge runs through the body and the catalogue of diseases opens, do not climb on that wagon. Say, sensation is appearing. I witness life, unbeginning, unending. When the phone does not ring and the mind whispers rejection, say, loneliness is appearing. I witness presence and love. Not as magic phrases, but as a sober change of jurisdiction. You are not arguing with weather. You are standing in climate. You are not fighting shadows on the wall. You are turning to the light that makes all seeing possible. Well, someone says, isn't that just semantics? Who decreed that names do not matter? That man. Adam's first work was to name, and you are doing a holy naming when you move from I am fear to fear appears. You relocate your seat. You refuse deputization under the law, and you take your place under grace. And from there, conduct follows naturally. Calm, wise action without panic, kindness without self-defense, prudence without terror. You don't become passive, you become governed. And please hear this. The witness is not a cold observer standing on a hill above the city. The witness is love, aware of itself. Perfect love casteth out fear. Love does not stand in the market to argue with every merchant's cry. Love outranks the marketplace by being itself. The witness is the Christ in you, your real life, seeing through appearance to reality. If you are tempted to think that witnessing is evasion, you are still listening to the law's prosecutor. The witness is the only one qualified to see correctly, because it does not have a case to win. Now then, this shifts our preparation for the 12 minutes. We are not going in to get a result. Who decreed that God must perform tricks on cue to prove himself? That man. We are going in to take the witness seat and let the reactor sit in the gallery without a microphone. If fear speaks, let it. Do not lend it your tones. If old images appear, let them. Do not animate them. Keep the quiet refrain close, not as a defense, but as identification. I am not under the law, I am under grace. If the phrase, I am afraid, arises by old habit, gently transmute it. Fear is appearing, I witness I am, and let that be all. No struggle, no bargain, no diary of results. Just government, quiet government. I have been watching this operate, and I can tell you, the very moment you become the witness, fear falls from identity to appearance, and appearances do not command you under grace. They may come, they may go, they may try on uniforms to look official. They are still only appearances. The government is I am. And when, in a few moments, we enter into the silence, we will not climb, we will not dig, we will not strain, we will take our seat. We will let the voice that was from the beginning be the only voice with a right to speak. And then, whether there is noise or quiet, whether there are thoughts or none, your work is simple. Remain the witness. That is the passage from law to grace. And in that passage, the whole inner climate changes, though the outer air may seem the same. So prepare in yourself now. Loosen your grip on thinking you must do something with whatever appears. You are not the operator. You are the witness of the operator. Let the reactor rest. It has worked overtime and accomplished little. Take your place. Be still and know. And as you do, you will discover that the one who witnesses is not a new role you are acting. It is the truth of you from before all fear, and it has been waiting patiently for you to stop signing your name under rumors and to sign only under grace. Now then, before we cross that threshold, let us clear the one obstruction that makes silence into a stall instead of a sanctuary. Bargaining. I'll be still if you remove my fear. I'll give you 12 minutes if you fix the body. I'll keep quiet if you secure the job. I'll surrender if you promise not to let this person hurt me. That's pitiful. Now then, who do you think you're dealing with? An auctioneer? Who decreed that God's government is upheld by your trades? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. Grace is not a marketplace. The kingdom of God is not purchased with vows and paid with promises. Silence is not a chip you slide across the table. Silence is surrender. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and see if I'll make good your bargain. I have been watching this operate for many years, and I can tell you what happens when you stop wheeling and dealing. The very instant the heart ceases its little negotiations and simply yields, I am thine, the atmosphere changes, not because you have earned anything. Grace cannot be earned, not because you have struck a better bargain. Grace cannot be bought. The change comes because you have left the jurisdiction where deals are made and stepped into government, quiet, present, already established. You discover that peace is not something you coax out of a reluctant heaven. Peace is the fact of God's presence, and it begins to be felt the moment you cease insisting on an outcome and consent to what is. Now then, here is the moral root of the noise. The mind pretends its chatter is technical, schedules, treatments, contingencies, but much of it is moral noise. Condemnation, resentment, self-justification rehearsed in low tones. You cannot smuggle a grudge into the sanctuary and then wonder why the choir will not sing. If thou bring thy gift to the altar and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, first be reconciled. Why? Because the very energy you spend rehearsing what they did, what you'll say when you get your turn, what punishment they deserve, that is the drumline of fear in your chest. It keeps the courthouse open after hours. It keeps the prosecutor on retainer. It keeps you under the law. So before we enter our minutes, take a brief inventory, not with a whip, with honesty. Who are you condemning today? Name them. Who are you rehearsing against in secret? Say it. Whisper the name to yourself and see what rises. What grievance are you feeding that keeps the mind loud? What old verdict have you framed and hung in your hallway so you can walk by it every morning and renew your outrage? Who decreed that they must change before you can be free? That man. Grace does not run on their repentance. Grace runs on your surrender. Lay it down. Do not polish it. Do not explain it. Do not defend it. Lay it down. But they were wrong. Perhaps it was unjust. Perhaps. And still I say to you, forgive 70 times 7. Pray for them. Bless them that curse you. Not because injustice should be ignored. Grace will show you wise action when it is time, but because your silence cannot stabilize while a private war is being fought in the next room of your heart. Neither do I condemn thee. Can you let that sentence govern you so thoroughly that condemnation cannot find a desk in your mind? When you do, you will know why silence had been so difficult. You were not resisting chatter, you were cherishing a case. Now then, do not come into stillness to purchase peace or to earn protection. Come because God is. Come because I am is the government of you and of all. Come with no deal in your pocket, no timer set to see whether the gooseflesh arrives, no test prepared to grade God after the bell rings. Come as one who has discovered the poverty of bargaining and the wealth of surrender. If the mind tries to slip a contract under your pen during the minutes, if you fix this, I will never do that again. Smile gently, lay the pen down, and return to your witness. I am not under the law, I am under grace, not as a dare to heaven, not as a spell for results, but as identification. And understand this clearly. We do not enter silence to defeat fear. We enter silence to cease cooperation with fear. Fear is nourished by your trades and your rehearsals and your condemnations. It thrives where you imagine you can manipulate the universe with your bargains. The moment you refuse to bargain, when you put down the ledger with its columns of offenses and payments and I owe us, the air clears. Grace does not have to fight, it outranks. It takes its seat and you take yours. And all those little clerks of anxiety who have been scribbling since dawn quietly close their books because there is no court in session. Never doubt this. Your motive is the key that opens or jams the door. If you come to silence to get, you remain under the law of getting and losing. If you come to silence to yield, you pass into the country where giving is life and life gives of itself. And from that ground, wise actions will arise, apologies made, boundaries set, kindness given, prudence exercised, but not as payments, as outflow. In a moment we will sit. Let your only aim be to know God as God is. Here, let forgiveness go before you like a lamp. Let condemnation be refused its badge. Let the ledger close. Then, when fear knocks, it will find the window dark and the door locked not by willpower, but by love's quiet government, and it will wander off to look for business elsewhere. Now then, let us be very simple. Take the seat you already have. No throne is required. Sit as you are and let the body be at ease. If a chair helps, use a chair. If a cushion helps, use a cushion. If the back wishes a little support, give it. Who decreed that God requires a posture to come near? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. The kingdom of God is within you, not under your tailbone. Soften the brow, unhook the jaw. Let the shoulders drop the armor they have been carrying all day. Place the hands where they do not need to hold anything, palms restful on lap or knees. If the eyes prefer to close, close them. If they prefer a soft gaze on the floor, let them. Do not make an altar out of a method. We are not here to perform, we are here to be. Let the breath come and go as it always has, unmanaged, unmetered. You did not invent it, you need not operate it. Who decreed that spirituality is a breathing exercise? That man. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and count, not be still and push. Be still and know. If the breath is long, let it be long. If short, let it be short. Occasionally you may notice a sigh arise. Let it. The body is setting down a sack it no longer needs to carry. Do not make a ceremony of it. Now then, in these minutes, your one task is not a task at all. Consent. Consent to presence. You are not concentrating the mind into a point. You are allowing awareness to be aware of itself. Silence is not blankness. Do not go hunting for a white screen. Silence is receptivity. It is awareness free of bargaining. It is presence felt or unfelt, the fact of I am. Sometimes there will be quiet. Sometimes there will be sounds in the room, a car passing, a child's step, a pipe ticking. Let them be the background music to a government that has already taken its seat. Do you see that? We are not requiring conditions. We are recognizing cause. What then when thoughts arise? They will. The mind under law loves to pass notes across the aisle. We forgot the letter. What about the bill? What if the doctor says, do not wrestle, do not label success or failure? Who decreed that a quiet mind is proof that God has arrived and a busy mind is proof that God has left? That man. Never doubt this. God is here whether your mind hums or hushes. Let each thought be an appearance, not an identity. When it is noticed, gently turn, not as a soldier whipping into line, as a friend returning home, and rest in I am. For some of you, the simplest way is to whisper within, I am, and then no more. For others, a brief sentence will reseat you. I am not under the law, I am under grace, then release it. Do not clutch the phrase like a tool. It is a doorway, not a hammer. Step through and be quiet. If a fear thought arrives issuing a decree, by Friday you will see, at your age, this is inevitable. Given your history, this cannot change. Turn on it with calm authority. Who decreed that? That man. I am not under the law, I am under grace. Then do not stand in the hallway to argue. Close the door and return to presence. We are not collecting debates, we are living under government. Now then, expect this. At the threshold of stillness, fear may raise its voice. Do not be alarmed. Why? Because that is what vendors do when the crowd thins. They shout. The moment you stop buying, the price of their voice goes up. Who decreed that volume equals truth? That man. Have no fear of fear. If panic flutters, name it correctly. Appearance, not identity. And rest one more time in I am. You will learn in these minutes that fear needs your listening to live. Withdraw the loan and its business closes. There is no grading in this room. No report card will be issued. You are not to peek at the clock like a schoolboy at the bell. If you have set a gentle timer, let it be off stage and forgotten. The minutes are not a sentence to be served. They are a jurisdiction to enter. If you discover that you have been lost in thought for a little while, do not fine yourself a fee. Smile, oh yes, a small smile does wonders, and return, that is all. The witness does not berate, it beholds. If the body fidgets, allow a small adjustment and then be still. Do not threaten the knee into holiness or command the itch to disappear. Be kind to the form you wear and let it settle. If tears come, let them. If warmth appears, let it. If nothing in particular occurs, blessed be nothing in particular. Grace does not audition for you. The evidence of government is not fireworks. We will speak of that later. For now, the evidence is your consent. Let a few anchor sentences be near, but not as a chant, as identification. Be still and know that I am God. I am not under the law, I am under grace. The kingdom of God is within me. If they arise, let them. If not, fine. The deepest practice is the simplest. Rest as I am. Awareness aware of itself. Love loving because love is what it is. And please remember this, for it will save you from much discouragement. There is no such law that says you must empty your mind to know God. I have watched too many spend their strength pushing thoughts around the room like furniture and then collapsing, convinced they failed. That's pitiful. Now then, rest. Let thoughts pass like people on a sidewalk while you sit on the porch, unhurried, unafraid. When a fear statement steps up to sell you a future, answer once from your seat. I am not under the law, I am under grace. And let the salesman find that this house does not buy. Then look inward without looking, and be. In a few moments we will begin, but truly it has already begun, for the intention in your heart is itself a turning. Non-cooperation with fear, consent to presence. That is the whole of the practice. Not strain, not method, not fear of fear. Simply be still and know. Now then, let us begin. Sit as you are and allow the body to settle into its own wisdom. The breath has been faithful to you since before you drew your first conscious thought. Let it continue without your supervision. Hands resting, brow softened, jaw unhooked. We are not going to do anything to get to God. We are resting where God already is. Within, whisper once, only once, and then let it drop into quiet, I am. That is not a signal to start working. That is a recognition of what already is. And now, leave it. No counting, no measuring, no looking over your own shoulder to see whether you are doing it right. Be as you are without achievement. Presence does not require your improvement. It asks only your consent. Feel the seat holding you. Feel the simple fact of being before thought, prior to the little agenda that waits at the edge of the room. Being. The room can be as it is. Sounds can be as they are. The breath can be as it is. You are not a manager here. You are a witness. Now then, let the mind do whatever it will do without deputizing it to govern you. If it offers a memory, let it pass. If it offers a picture, let it fade. If it offers a question, let it be an unasked question in a silent court. Your one relation is to I am, which is to say, to awareness aware of itself. As we rest here, you may notice a little stirring, a thought that would like to sell you a future, an image that would like to paint a disaster, a sensation that would like to audition for the role of emergency. Do not brace against it and do not embrace it. Simply notice its structure like a craftsman examining a tool without needing to use it. Perhaps a line of words comes, "What if this gets worse by Friday?" And behind it there flickers a quick film, a desk, a phone call, a closed door, and the body responds with a squeeze in the chest or a flutter in the gut. See it kindly. It is a kit, prediction, image, sensation. It only looks like law when you swear it in as judge. Here, in this seat, you swear in no judge, but I am. So you do not reject it as an enemy. You do not accept it as an identity. You let it be an appearance, and you rest as witness. If you have lost track, whisper once within, very softly, I am, and let it sink again without echo. Who decreed that every knock on the door must be answered? That man. In this house you are not obliged to shout back at street criers. You are under no law to debate. A voice can try. It may lean into the window and wave a headline. It may raise its volume because the crowd is thinning. Never doubt this. Volume does not confer authority. In this stillness, you will observe fear hunting for a listener. It turns this way and that. It changes costumes, health, money, reputation, family, and looks for the face it used yesterday. But the listener it seeks is not home, because you have returned to your seat. You do not hang a sign on the latch. You simply do not come to the door. You abide, gentle, unpersuaded, without hostility. Now then, allow the body to belong to presence. If the breath deepens, let it. If it shallows, let it. If the hands grow warm, or a tear wells up, or nothing at all seems to occur, beyond the ordinary ticking of the room, let it. We are not here for fireworks. We are here for government. The government is quiet. Your consent is the proof of its presence. The mind may say, well, is anything happening? Who decreed that your commentary determines reality? That man. Let the question be a leaf on the surface of a river that you will not chase. If you find that you have been running after it, stop kindly, not with rebuke, and sit again by the bank. You do not need to explain your wandering. You need only to return. Return to I am, not as a phrase to clutch, but as a simple resting in being. Notice again, if a thought colored by fear appears, that it arrives as pieces. Perhaps it has a date stamp, Tuesday at 9, or a diagnosis word you once heard in an office, or the image of a face falling when you speak your truth. Then the body's animal wisdom offers its traditional contribution, an energy here, a tightness there, because that is how bodies speak. See the pieces laid out on a table, gentle, kind, unhurried. Do not assemble them into a sculpture. Do not knock them to the floor. They are appearing. You are witnessing. This is not indifference. It is correct government. You will be surprised to see how, when the pieces are not glued together by your repetition, they lose their claim on you. Fear is a builder who has no cement except your consent. Withdraw that, and you will find that it cannot make a shelter to house you. Now then, let your receptivity deepen, not as a doing, as a allowing. There is an immediate sense, sometimes subtle as a feather, sometimes as obvious as sunlight, that awareness is not in you. You are in awareness. Presence is not a product of your quiet. Your quiet is a courtesy offered to the presence that is already fact. Let yourself lean back into that fact. Let the sounds in the room be included as part of the single field. A car passes, a bird calls, a pipe ticks, clothing rustles. This is not interruption. This, too, is within the government of I am. You are not trying to suspend sound. You are transcending commentary. The ear can hear and the mind can refrain from publishing an editorial. You are not shrinking into a corner to protect a flame. You are allowing that the room is lit and the light is not fragile. Have you noticed that when you are established as witness, the so-called outside and inside fold into a single fact of awareness, the sensation in the hand and the sound of the breeze are of the same substance, not material substance, but awareness known? How can one be an enemy and the other a friend? They are appearances within one presence. Let that felt sense of one field be your resting, not a picture, not a trance, simply the ease of not dividing. The courtroom is closed. The little officials have gone home. There is one government here, and it is not noisy. Now then, if a small thought pipes up, we are 8 minutes in, perhaps nothing has changed. Smile inside. Who decreed that the calendar and the clock measure grace? That man. We are not trading minutes for outcome. We have not hired God to do a job by a deadline. We are consenting to what is and has been and will be here. Your very non-cooperation with the mind's meter is part of the quieting. Let the phrase with which we began, I am, recede so far into the background that even its echo is gone, and being remains without name. The best prayer now is no prayer at all, only consent. You may now notice a quality difficult to describe and impossible to counterfeit, a sense that the space in which you are is benevolent, that it knows you without effort, that it requires no explanation, and that it offers no critique. Do not try to enlarge it. Do not try to hold it. Any attempt to hold it assumes it is leaving, and any attempt to enlarge it assumes it is small. Be as you are within it, and you will discover it is what you are. Words like love or peace or light may try to attach. Let them be soft labels at the edge. We are not rehearsing poetry. We are abiding in the unadorned fact. Now then, once and only once, like a bell far away that we hear and then we do not try to hear again, let a single phrase rise and dissolve. Where grace is, the law cannot operate. Do not repeat it. Do not test it. Let it ring once and then disappear into the silence from which it came. The room is as it was, and yet you sense the air of it is different to your feeling. You have not argued with any law. You have not overturned any verdict. You have merely awakened to the jurisdiction in which those decrees have no bench. Let that be enough, and drop even that thought. If in these moments nothing is said inside, good. If warmth arises at the center of the chest, fine. If there is dullness, heavy, and a little sleepy, simply be with it without calling it success or failure. If an old scene tries to run across your inner screen, recognize it as a moving picture, not a present voice, and do not climb in. There is no conversation necessary here, no internal sermons, no pep talks, no spiritual performance. The witness does not pace the floor, it sits. The witness does not bargain, it beholds. The witness does not sentence, it recognizes. As we rest, gratitude may flutter up like a bird that realizes the sky has no ceiling. Do not trap it with words. Let it tint the air if it wishes. If it does not, do not manufacture it. Mechanical gratitude is a small idol. Spontaneous gratitude is a scent of grace. Either way, you do not take your cue from emotion. You remain as you are, still consenting. If a twinge of fear returns, do not leap from your seat to take its dictation. Neither argue nor affirm. Meet it with stillness, not with speech. A single glance from the witness is enough to show it to be a passerby. Now then, the body may ask to swallow, to scratch, to adjust. Allow a small human kindness, and then do not turn movement into a project. You are not the warden of a prison keeping a body from fidgeting. You are the guardian of nothing because nothing here requires guarding. Small movements come and go. Presence remains. The longer you sit, not by duration but by consent, the more evident it is that fear's one food is your continued rehearsal. When the rehearsal is not offered, the actor cannot remember his lines. He stammers. He looks for a prompter. He wanders off. You did not defeat him. You ceased to employ him. We have entered the last minutes. There is no finish line to cross. Let the quiet be even quieter than quiet, which is to say, unremarked. The heart does not need a slogan. The mind does not need a report. What you are has no narrative. The most faithful word is still the first. I am. But we do not speak it now. We live it wordlessly. We rest as that which was before the day began and will be when the day is over. There is no law here to frighten you. There is grace here to govern you, and grace does not jabber. If you notice the mind, like a bright child, trying one more time to attract your attention with a new worry dressed in old clothing. But this one is different. This one requires thought. Do not scold it and do not indulge it. Let it stand at the edge of the yard while you sit on the porch. If it comes closer, a glance from the seat is enough. If it stays away, you do not go looking. When grace governs, activity may go on in the marketplace, but the rattle does not enter the sanctuary. And strangely, when you emerge from the sanctuary, you will find you can move in the marketplace with more wisdom and less noise, because you are not marching to the drummer you used to hire. Now then, allow a few slow breaths to be noticed, not because breath is a means to God, but because it is a gentle bridge from this chair into the next moment. If gratitude has settled as a warm knowing, remain a moment with it and let it be without words. If there is simply plainness, emptiness almost, know that emptiness is often the cleanest room in which grace is felt. Do not mark this down as success or failure. Who decreed that your grade today will predict your life tomorrow? That man. Grace has no grading curve. We will not say much more. Let there be 10, perhaps 15 heartbeats now in which nothing is attempted. Rest, no bargaining, no method, no fear of fear, only consent. Fear is already bored in a town where nobody attends its rallies. It folds up its posters and goes home. You made no enemies, you kept no trophies, you simply did not cooperate. When you are ready, and not a second before, let the eyelids lift or the gaze widen, but do not leave the seat. Stand in the same government as you move the hand or straighten the back. Do not tell yourself a story of what happened. Do not rush to make promises to do better or more tomorrow. That is law creeping back in with its clipboard. You are under grace. You have merely practiced non-cooperation with fear and consent to presence. And in that practice, fear has shown you its secret. It is noise without authority. Where grace is, there is no bench for it to sit on, no robe for it to wear, no gavel for it to strike. Carry this silence with you as a jurisdiction, not as a mood. You will not keep it by effort. You will keep it by refusal to sign fear's papers. As the day goes on and the marketplace murmurs, you will find that a single inward resting, no word, perhaps not even I am, only the turning to what is, reinstates the government without drama. Then when you must speak, you will speak. When you must act, you will act. When you must refrain, you will refrain. But fear will not be your officer. It may shout from a distance. It may wave a badge it drew with a crayon. It cannot enter without your consent. Now then, before we move into words again, let the last note be no note at all. Simply be, simply know, not as definition, as being. The law came by Moses. Grace and truth are here, and in their presence, human ordinances collapse like paper in the rain. You have seen it in small measure in these minutes. We will speak of it, yes, but not now. Now we remain, one more breath, as we began, without achievement, without method, without fear. Be still and know. Now then, what just happened? Do not look to the skin for goose flesh or to the nerves for a parade. Who decreed that heaven must announce itself with symbols and colored lights? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. The evidence you are to recognize is subtler and more authoritative than tingles and tears. It is this: a slackening of that inner compulsion to fix, to explain, to protect, to be first at the fire alarm, a loosening of the hand that has been gripping the steering wheel of life. You may still have the same inbox and the same family and the same body, but there is less urgency to make speeches to yourself about them. That is not indifference. That is government. Quiet government. In those minutes, you did not improve fear. You changed jurisdictions. The law came by Moses. Grace and truth came by Christ Jesus. Under the law, fear writes ordinances and posts them on every corner: diet, heredity, calendar, bank book, reputation, and you run from one notice to the next, muttering, "What shall I do now?" But once you rest as I am, you move into the realm in which those notices are not binding, and you find, without argumentation and without a single fistfight, that where grace is, the law cannot operate. Please understand this well. Fear was not counseled into good behavior. It was rendered inoperative by lack of authority in that place. I've been watching this for many years, and I can tell you, it is the nature of light that it does not reason with darkness, and it is the nature of grace that it does not negotiate with fear. It outranks it, not by struggle, by being. Did fear vanish forever? No. Who promised you that? That man. Never doubt this. The world belief will continue its rounds. The mind under habit will continue to audition its speeches. But did fear's voice lose its command over you? Yes, because it cannot speak as judge where you have recognized presence as government. The same sentence may cross the threshold: by Friday this must be handled or else. But it arrives as a salesman without license, not a magistrate with gavel. You can nod at it, "Good afternoon," and not buy a thing. That quiet no purchase is the evidence of grace at work. Now then, the mind will return to its old post out of sheer practice. Tomorrow morning the headlines will report to you. The body may creak. The account will display numbers that once raised your pulse. A relative will rehearse the family fear. Who decreed that these appearances are now disqualified from your day? No one. What has changed is your relation to them. Under law, appearances deputize you into anxiety and argument. Under grace, they may appear, but they do not compel. They knock. You are not at home to them. If you find that you have wandered back into their hallway with your shoes off, good. See it and turn. We will speak of this turning because it is the simple art by which jurisdiction is maintained. Let me be plain, for this will save you from both pride and discouragement. If you came out of that stillness thinking, "I felt nothing, perhaps I failed," that's pitiful. Now then, correct it. Who decreed that a sensation meter measures God? That man. The real proof shows up as the absence of an inner whip. Less self-explanation, less rehearsing of conversations, less crouching before imagined verdicts. You will find yourself willing to let a matter rest for an hour without building a scaffold of dread around it. You will notice a new capacity to say, "I don't know yet," without panic. You will be gentler with yourself and, strangely, more exact about your affairs, because you're not hustling to please the fear voice. That is grace governing. It does not shout, but it governs. Sometimes the evidence is as homely as this. You come upon the same old worry, and you do not immediately sign your name to it. You see the kit, prediction, picture, sensation, and you refrain, not in defiance, not in numbness, but in recognition. I am not under the law, I am under grace. And you discover you can answer an email without writing a legal brief to protect your image. You can make a decision without dragging in the jury. You can say no or yes without first securing applause. Do you see what that is? It is the cessation of compulsion. It is quiet government. Now then, do not try to freeze this hour as a souvenir. Grace does not permit you to bottle it and take swigs as needed. Give us this day our daily bread, not give us a warehouse. The old jurisdiction will test the door, not because it has authority, but because habit rattles latches. It will come through the radio and the office and the brainstem. It will try theology and it will try common sense. It will put on a white coat and it will put on your mother's voice. Who decreed that because it speaks with authority, it has authority? That man. Do not fight. Do not plead. Turn. The same turning by which you entered is how you remain. And please notice this mischief the mind likes to play. All right, if grace outranks fear, then by this evening every symptom will be gone, and every bill will be paid, and every relative will be delighted. Who decreed that grace must prove itself on your preferred timetable? That man. Under law, you bargain and schedule. Under grace, you consent and obey. The evidence of grace is not that the sea instantly parts on your command. The evidence is that even before the sea moves, you are not bowing to it as a god. And then, in due order, wisdom directs steps. Provision appears by ways you could not have engineered, and some seas part not by violence, but by the simple fact that you were never meant to cross there. So, what happened? Your identity shifted from the one who fears to the one who witnesses. In that recognition, fear was demoted from identity to appearance, and in the presence of the witness, appearance has no jurisdiction to rule. The gavel that used to sound in your head is now a toy you can set down, and from here we learn the way of immediacy. Not long negotiations, not rare retreats only, but a quick inner turning, a quiet consent, a practiced refusal to sign fear's papers as the day brings its ordinary claims. That is how grace remains government, not once, but again and again, until the very thought that you are ever under any other law begins to look odd to you. Now then, we go on. We will not ask grace to fight. It never does. We will consent to grace's rank and let fear be what it always was, noise without authority. And we will train the heart in this swift turning, so that when the next knock comes, you need not even rise from your chair to answer. You will already be seated in the only court that matters. Now then, we leave the chair and go to the weak, and here is where most stumble because they think that an hour on a pillow is a vaccine against a day full of knocks. It is not. Your freedom is maintained not by occasional long meditations, but by immediate inner turning the moment fear presents its ordinance. This is your simple, repeatable script. When a sentence rises, I will lose, I will get sick, I will be alone, I will be late. Do not argue, do not bargain, do not promise improvements. Pause. Soften the brow. Let one easy breath remind you that you are seated, and answer within, not as a chant, but as a decree. Get thee behind me, Satan. I am not under the law, I am under grace. Then drop it and return to the step at hand. That is the whole of it. Not 10 sentences, not 20 affirmations. One inner turn that reinstates government, and then the next rightful act, if any, without hurry. Who decreed that responsibility must come dressed as anxiety? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. Planning under grace is a page with one clear line, what love requires now, and a pencil ready to be erased by wisdom in an hour. Planning under law is a theater with you as actor, director, critic, and cashier, selling tickets to a tragedy you don't even want to attend. The mark of practical responsibility is that it deals with what is present and possible today. The mark of fear disguised as responsibility is that it rehearses a dozen imaginary scenes and then condemns you for not solving them in advance. When you feel the rehearsal begin, do not polish the script. Turn on it. Get thee behind me. I am under grace. Then take one sane step. Make the one call that is yours to make. Pay the one bill that can be paid. Wash the one dish that sits in the sink, and let the rest sit without a court date. Now then, let us look where fear most likes to post its notices. In the body. This ache proves a story with a terrible end. Who decreed that sensation can prophesy? That man. Under grace, the body is not a judge. It is a servant and a friend. When the twinge announces its law, pause, soften, breathe, turn. Get thee behind me. I am under grace. Then be simple. Rest if rest is wise. Move if movement is wise. Consult if consultation is wise. But not under duress and not with a drumbeat in your chest. The wisdom that follows the turning has a different feel. Unhurried, exact, unafraid to wait, unafraid to act. I have watched it many years, and I can tell you, this is the difference between being pushed by fear and being led by grace. In supply, markets are down, the client will cancel, the position will close, there is not enough. Who decreed that your income is a branch severed from the vine to be weathered by the wind? That man. We live from the center outward. Our work is an avenue of giving, not a wall we lean on to keep from falling. So when the number or the rumor taps your shoulder, do not bid it sit as judge. Turn, get thee behind me, I am under grace. Then give as you are led to give today. Skill, service, attention, honesty. And watch what follows, not as magic, not as gambling, but as the multiplication that attends grace. A fear economy divides, a grace economy multiplies. You will find that panic spends and prayer invests, and grace governs the return. In time, you cannot possibly do it all. The clock is your enemy, the weak will break you. Who decreed that time outranks spirit? That man. Under the law, you pant after the hands of the clock. Under grace, you stand in I am, and time fits itself around obedience. So when the list shouts its edicts, do not answer with frenzy. Turn, get thee behind me, I am under grace. Then choose the one next right thing and do it without mental commentary. It is remarkable how often 2 quiet minutes accomplish what 20 anxious minutes cannot. And how often what looked necessary evaporates when you refuse to bow. In reputation, they will think less of you. You must protect the image. You must wordsmith every syllable to avoid offense. Who decreed that your peace is on public lease? That man. Under grace you are known by God, and the need to explain yourself loosens. When the editorial board in your head convenes at 3 in the morning, it is not a high council, it is stagehands playing judge. Turn, get thee behind me, I am under grace. Then speak truth when it is yours to speak. Apologize when love requires it. Fall silent when it doesn't, and leave the jury to dissolve in the light. In family, your child will wander, your parent will fail, your partner will harm you by 1,000 small neglects. Who decreed that love must secure itself by dread? That man. Under grace, love acts within the government of I am. It is not a warden pacing the bars. So when the picture rushes in, schoolyard, hospital room, courtroom, do not decorate it and do not smash it. Turn, get thee behind me, I am under grace. Then love as you are given to love today. Listen, set a boundary, offer a kindness. Hold your peace, ask forgiveness, and refuse to make fear your counselor at the table. Now then, I warned you, the gate narrows here. Why? Because this turning is not a trick of breath or a lucky phrase. It is the fruit of a cleaner heart. If you carry a pocket of judgments to sprinkle on your neighbor, fear will always find a hook to hang its coat on. If resentment is your daily bread, you will feed fear and call it supper. If unforgiveness is your currency, you will purchase what you do not want. Do you see that? The words, "Get thee behind me," are not effective as magic. They are effective as truth when the heart refuses to condemn. We will speak more of that, but mark it now. You cannot keep jurisdiction by technique while you practice malice in secret. The seat of witness and the hobby of accusation do not share a house. Make this practical. All week you will be presented with little laws. At the stoplight, in the inbox, on the scale, on the phone, in the mirror, Each time do not hold a debate, turn, a breath, a softening, a single inner decree. Get thee behind me. I am not under the law, I am under grace. Then the one sane step and leave the rest unhustled. Repeat this not as superstition, not as a meter to earn a result, but as recognition of government. 10 times a day at first, then 50, then it becomes the unannounced posture of your being. And if you forget and find yourself halfway through a fearful speech, do not add shame on top of fear. Stop, smile at your own humanness, turn again. The court is always open to grace, and grace does not scold a returning witness. Now then, let this be the banner over your Monday and your Saturday alike. I am not an effect of conditions. I act from within. Presence governs, circumstance reports. Where grace is, the law cannot operate. Keep this inner battle script near, and you will find that fear grows hoarse for lack of audience, and your affairs come under a new simplicity, not because you have forced the world to be gentle, but because you have ceased to enthrone its noise. Now then, here is the hard saying, and you had better let it land. You cannot enjoy the fruit of grace while you are drinking the poisons of condemnation and hatred. You want 12 minutes of peace, but you're carrying 12 years of grievance. Now then, who decreed that such arithmetic will balance? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. Under the law, you may keep ledgers, weigh offenses, collect interest on old debts. Under grace, there is no court for your resentments to sit in, and if you insist on running a secret tribunal in your heart, you will find that silence has no place to rest its head. I've been watching this for many years, and I can tell you, nothing stirs the waters like the memory of a wrong cherished for comfort. Nothing agitates the mind like the private thrill of condemnation. And then you sit down to be still and wonder why the lake won't glass over. You are stirring it yourself with the stick of judgment. Who decreed that your bitterness is justified because the hurt was real? That man. I do not deny the bruise, and I do not deny the betrayal, but I deny that they grant you authority to live under law while asking for the benefits of grace. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. That was not poetry, it was government. The moment you take the judge's chair, you put yourself back under the law, and under the law you must argue, defend, rehearse, keep watch. And in that racket you will not find silence. When the heart lays down the gavel, grace can govern, and in that governance fear has no office to occupy. Now then, let us make this practice plain, because some of you are professional historians of wrongs, and you narrate the injury fresh each week to keep it warm. Stop it. Here is your simple work before you take your chair of stillness. Name the person. Do not hide. In the sanctuary of your own heart, say their name plainly, the partner, the parent, the boss, the friend, yourself if need be, and yes, the institution or the nation if that has taken a room in your chest. Then release the sentence. I release you from my judgment. You owe me nothing, neither do I condemn thee. That is not indulgence, that is jurisdiction. Then pray for their good. Not, may they be taught a lesson. That is just judgment in church clothes. Pray, Father, reveal thyself as their light, their health, their supply, their peace. Bless them. And now the hard part. Refuse to rehearse their wrong. When the scene replays, when the closing argument starts marching in your head with the old exhibits, turn on it. No, that debt is canceled. Get thee behind me. I am under grace. And if you must think of them at all, bless them again and let it go. You will say, but it comes back a dozen times a day. Who said it wouldn't? That man. 70 times 7, and every time is new currency. It is not hypocrisy to forgive the same name again and again. It is obedience to the spiritual economy in which love multiplies and law divides. And if your mind insists, But if I forgive, I will be harmed again. Answer it calmly. Who decreed that forgiveness means the end of wisdom? That man. Under grace, you may set a boundary without a blade of hatred. You may walk away from abuse without carrying a private noose of revenge. Forgiveness is not the abolition of discernment. It is the refusal to enthrone condemnation as your counselor. Do you see the tie to fear? The bulk of your fear is not meteorological, it is moral. It is the dread of being a tiny, separate somebody in a world of antagonists, armed with a dozen old stories as proof. Resentment cements the sense of separation. Judgment isolates you as a righteous self against an unrighteous crowd. Unforgiveness keeps the past alive as ammunition. In that state, of course, you cannot be still. You are guarding a fortress. But perfect love casteth out fear. Why? Because love dissolves the make-believe of a vulnerable fragment. Love testifies, I and the Father are one. And if I and the Father are one, and if I can let you be one with the same Father in my heart, what is left to defend with these sharpened little speeches? The moment you release a brother from your interior prison, you are freed from your sentry post, and silence becomes natural because there is nothing left to protect. I have watched this with men and women who could not sit 3 minutes without hearing the clatter of their grudges. The day they prayed sincerely for the one they thought unforgivable, sincerely, not for show, not for leverage, was the day the clatter lost its power, and they did not become lax. They became precise and kind, and their affairs grew more orderly, not less, because grace governs where law relents. Never doubt this. The way into stable silence is a moral path, purified of bigotry, bias, prejudice, purified of the small pleasures of gossip and the subtle superiority of the accuser. The heart settles as a lake on a windless morning. Keep your hidden hostilities and you will always require windbreaks and explanations and earplugs. Lay them down and you can sit in a simple room and hear God. Make it immediate. Before your next 12 minutes, take 2. Close your eyes and bring to mind the one name that will not leave you alone. Say it. Release the sentence. I cancel the debt. I return the case to God. Neither do I condemn thee. Pray their good without editing. Bless them as if their joy would not cost you 1 inch of yours, because it will not. Grace multiplies. Then take your seat and be still, and when the prosecutor shows up with the old file, meet him at the door. No jurisdiction here. Get thee behind me. If he bangs the gavel, he will only be making noise in the hallway. He does not own the room. Now then, understand why some cannot stay in silence. It is not because silence is a severe art or because the mind is uniquely unruly in their case. It is because the heart has elected law's noise as its favorite entertainment, and it is proud of its casework. That's pitiful. Lay it down. The moment you do, you will find that you are not trying to hold still against assault. You are resting because nothing in you is at war. From there, you can forgive quickly, bless easily, set boundaries cleanly, and return to stillness without struggle. As love increases, silence is the most natural thing in the world, because the mind has less to defend and nothing to prosecute. And then the next fear that knocks will meet not a frightened attorney behind a desk, but a quiet witness in a chair already under grace, already governed, already free. Now then, let us finish where all true work begins, with a choice. Choose this day whom you will serve, fear's law or presence's grace. You cannot belong to both at once, and if you try to keep 1 foot on the dock and 1 in the boat, you will not sail and you will not rest. Who decreed that you can run 2 governments in 1 heart? That man. Well, let me tell you, there is no such law. The kingdom of God is not a coalition government. Either the gavel in you is fear's, or it is surrendered to I am. Never doubt this. Do not make your choice with speeches. Make it with practice. For 1 week, 7 days only. Take 12 minutes daily. Pick an hour you can keep and a chair you will return to, and sit without bargaining, without technique, without promises of what you will give God if God will give you something first. Be still and consent. Here I am. I am. Nothing to get, nothing to prove, nothing to manage. If thoughts parade, let them parade past a closed window. You do not have to salute. If fear knocks, let it knock until its knuckles are sore. Do not rise to answer. 12 minutes, not for fireworks, for government. I've watched this many years, and I can tell you, 12 honest minutes under grace undo 1,200 noisy minutes under the law. Now then, between those chairs, your day will offer its little edicts, and you are to answer them at once, not with an argument, but with a 5-second turning, a breath, a softening, and the decree within. Get thee behind me. I am not under the law. I am under grace. Then drop it and do the next right thing without hurry. 5 seconds, not a ceremony, not a chant you count, a turn from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and then a sane step, one call, one kindness, one boundary, one piece of work, led, not driven. If you forget, and you will, do not build a temple to shame, simply turn again. Grace is present, grace is patient, grace governs when you consent. And let me save you from a superstition that steals more peace than any devil you can name. Who decreed that 12 minutes obligate God to produce your preferred outcome by Friday at noon? That man. Under the law you sow bargains and reap anxiety. Under grace you live from withinness, and outcomes arrive in their right order, and in forms wisdom selects. Give us this day our daily bread. Daily, not all at once pantry proofing. This is not a ritual to control weather, markets, or relatives. It is a willingness to be governed from the center, and in that government you will find that many storms quiet before you lift an oar, and those that do not quiet cease to be your captains. Keep your motive clean as you go. If judgment rises, cancel the debt immediately and return the case to God. If resentment steps forward with its old badge, strip it of its title. Neither do I condemn thee. Get thee behind me. I am under grace. You cannot hurl stones at your brother and then complain that your hands are too busy to be still. Make your heart a place where no private trials are conducted, and you will discover that silence requires no heroics. It becomes your native climate. Now then, set your continuity plan and set it simply. 12 minutes each day for 7 days in the same chair. 5-second turnings whenever fear speaks. A light, honest review before bed. 1 blessing counted, 1 grudge released. 1 sentence of praise to the presence that governed your day. Then sleep in the confidence that you are not upholding the universe. Tomorrow you begin again, not as a recruit, but as a witness. And when the next fear presents itself, hear me well. It is not a problem to solve. It is a cue to return. Do not pick up the gavel. Do not form a committee. Turn. The faster you turn, the less there is to undo. You will see in a week what many never see in a year. The miracle is not that conditions always change on command. The miracle is that you are no longer commanded by conditions. In that freedom, conditions often follow. Choose your jurisdiction now, not later, not after a new book, not when you feel holy enough. Now, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Put it in present tense in your heart. As for me and my house of thought and feeling and breath, we are under grace. And then prove it by this one obedient act. Be still, turn quickly, refuse condemnation, and let love govern. Never doubt this. Where grace is, the law cannot operate. Say it now and say it rightly. I am not under the law. I am under grace. Hold to that, and you will find that the noise which used to rule you has become only weather, noticed perhaps, but not obeyed. Someone will ask, what about this exception? What about that emergency? I can't answer that tonight. Take your 12 minutes, take your 5 seconds, choose your jurisdiction. The rest will be shown.